All right, move on, financial forecast.
A couple months ago, Paul Byerly asked for some projections. And those projections relate to the district's financial health. And the context of that conversation was taxation and the fund balance and how it all ties together. So for the last couple of years, Mary and I have subscribed to a financial forecast model through Robert W. Baird. To my knowledge, there's basically two main vendors for that product in the school business arena. And then there's a third company that just started up over the summer that, I shouldn't say the company started up, but is starting to offer that software capability. Through a number of conferences that Mary and I attended several years ago, but over the course of time, we felt most comfortable with the Robert W. Baird model. And so in order to help respond to Paul's question for information, that's the source or the resource that I use to compile information for you tonight. So I'll be taking you through a step-by-step piece, just to acquaint you with a couple of different pieces and give you a snapshot of where things are looking from a financial perspective for over time. The first piece that I want to point out, and it's basically here at the top of the screen. These green boxes reflect student enrollments, okay? And if you remember from the annual meeting presentation, one of the main parts that helps determine how much state aid a district gets is student enrollment tied in with property value. As you can tell, the district is experiencing student enrollment. Student enrollment decline, but student enrollment isn't calculated in just 1 year. It's always a 3-year rolling average. So that's why you see 3 years clustered together here. So if you look at this current school year, the third Friday count in September, the number that was submitted was 1440. And basically that's a head count of WGSD kids, not just sitting in our buildings, but those that open enroll out of our system. Okay? If you look over time then, over the next several years, you're going to see a decline of enrollments. And what this is based on is, as you know, our intermediate grades right now have higher enrollments. And when those kids are graduated out of Darlene's building to go up to a high school, our kindergarten supply isn't matching. So in other words, we're graduating 190, sometimes 200 8th graders, but we're only getting 140, 150 kindergartners, 130 kindergartners. So the point is that fact number one, you need to realize the declining enrollment piece over time. And basically, I figured, we were surprised at our kindergarten enrollment this year, especially at Woodfield, that it went up. And it was higher than what we had projected, so that was a positive thing. So basically, we're looking at a net decline of about 40 kids per year for the foreseeable future. That's point number one.
What's that based on? That's a good guess.
Just a good guess in the patterns.
Because I kind of slightly disagree with that, meaning that because of the housing market, everything dropped in half on some of the houses, especially the ones that marked a long time. Mm-hmm. And I've experienced in our neighborhood alone, and Bob can attest to that, we have a lot of houses up for sale. A lot of younger families bought them because they could get into the market now.
Good.
And there's a lot of little kids running around the neighborhood.
Okay.
So I think we're going to stabilize. I don't think we're going to be as significant decline as you're seeing.
Good.
Does that include the 4K?
No. No.
So that'll give us a little more head count then.
Right. Not a lot though, because you have to remember those kids would count only as half.
Yeah, so you got
So if we have
16 would be
16 kids, it's only
eight.
8, right? All right, so you've got the declining enrollment piece. The second thing I want to show you down here on this particular tab, I would just draw your attention to the very bottom line, the blue. Basically what I projected here is how much the board is going to tax levy for in the general fund. And I projected a 2% increase. Okay, so that's just the base. If you told me to go back, Chris, go do a 3%, I can do that. That's fine. Or do a 1.5, do a 4, whatever. I can do that. That's not a problem. And what's nice is it can readjust all the calculations throughout the whole system. So again, the tax levy increase that I forecasted for the board to levy would be a 2% increase. As far as expenditures, the expenditures in this projection, for the most part, reflect a 2% increase, okay, over time. The only adjustment that I made was in the health insurance area, where next year it would be capped at 7%. That doesn't mean it's going to be a 7%. It could come back being a 1% or 0 like it was this year. But I just wanted to be transparent about that. That, for the most part, all the expenses are projected to be about a 2% increase, and that includes salaries. All right. If you look at this current school year, this is pretty much where the numbers shook out at. People that were at the annual meeting, these numbers should be familiar to you. This is the mill rate. This is what was levied for, and we projected about a $200,000 deficit. But you got to keep in mind for this school year, that $200,000 deficit is because we are tapping into that assigned fund balance for the roof project here. Okay? And then because we still projected a little bit of more expenditures than revenues, we're anticipating maybe a $5,000 deficit on paper. We could probably pretty much come up with that, so we should have a balanced budget in the big picture. Conversely though, forecasting out, next year with a 2% increase and so on, we would be projecting about a $71,500 deficit. The other important part that I want to show you is the fund balance part. Again, the suggested recommendation or guideline for school finance is to have a fund balance between 30 and 33%. Right now, we're sitting at a 43%. 42% next year, presuming that we only tap into a little bit with that deficit.
Yeah,
But
is that with funds that are already spoken for?
No, not next year.
I'm looking at your 43 and 42%. So you're saying the ones that are already set aside for construction projects already? Has that
Right.
included in that 40-some percent?
yes,
So in theory, we're already talking about that.
yeah.
Because those are already spoken for working on the old.
Okay, so the point is that here's the fund balance part that you got to keep in mind. Here are the projected deficits. Keeping in mind a 2% increase in costs, but also taxing at a 2% increase in the general fund.